welcome back, guys, to Bluegrass Sports Podcast, episode number 10. And today we're going to be talking about what happened at the UK football spring game and what's going on throughout college football in general with the Bluegrass teams. We're going to be talking about the Louisville Kings' first win, so that's very exciting. We're also going to talk about college baseball scores briefly, and then we're going to be talking about recruiting news for basketball. But first, before we start all of that, my name is Keesee, and I am the discussion lead for this podcast.
My name's Cade. I'm the University of Kentucky analyst.
And we are still missing DJ. We thought he would be back, but unfortunately he is going through some things at the moment, and we're going to keep that private, but we're looking for him to come back as soon as possible. Just thanking him for us, and we're just going to try to talk about sports and let DJ do his thing. So, So I will be covering Louisville today, which will kind of feel wrong because I'm wearing a Feed the Studs shirt. So I apologize, Louisville fans, that you have to deal with a Kentucky fan covering y'all's news, but it is what it is. So, to kick things off, we have the Louisville Kings. They got their very first win against the Houston Gamblers. Ty, can I get a little round of applause for the Louisville Kings?
First win ever.
That is their very first win in franchise history ever. That is the first ever win in Louisville football history when it comes to professional sports.
And we have breaking news about the Kings, too.
Yes, we do. Thank you for reminding me. I was actually just about to get to that. So let me go over the game stats and what he did, and then we'll talk about the trade. So
yes.
The Louisville Kings beat the Houston Gamblers in an away game. They won 24-22 after a slow first quarter, ending in 3-3. The Kings' offense got going in the second quarter, and then the Gamblers' offense got going in the third quarter, and then the Kings tied it up in the fourth and ended up winning in overtime. Now, I did see that the UFL changed their overtime rules after the Kings' loss this past week. They changed it to where a penalty can't decide whether a game ends or not, which, thank you.
That was really good.
That is how a football game should work, right, Ty?
Yeah, agree. Yeah, you have to score to win. And, props to the UFL for not waiting until the season ended. You know, most, NFL, NBA, all major, affiliations, they all wait until the end of the season. So, props to the UFL for taking initiative and, actually changing it the day after. So, we can't watch that the rest of the season. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
I mean, it's just proof that bullying works, right?
Well, okay. Well, all right. All right.
I'm not saying go bully somebody, but the UFL, everybody was calling for their heads after that. Am I wrong or no?
You're right. You're right.
Okay. I probably could use a better term, and I apologize, but listen. All right. They changed the rule. Us Kings fans are happy. Okay. All Kings fans were calling for their heads, on Instagram and X. I was seeing it everywhere. Facebook. You don't end a football game like that. So the fact that they changed the rule because of that, that's good. And I'm glad that they did that. But back to the game. The Kings got their overtime win against the Houston Gamblers. They won by 2 points. And going over the passing yards, is the last time I get to cover him. Jason Bean, he went 17 for 34. He had 192 passing yards and 1 interception. No touchdowns thrown. He had a 50% completion rate, and his quarterback rating was a 55. So not the greatest game from Jason Bean. It's just not what you want to see out of your quarterback. Completing half your passes is good, but it's not great. And a quarterback rating at 55 can be better. Elite quarterbacks.
It's not good enough.
No, it's not good enough. They got the win, so, it is what it is. But, they're 1-3, and he was the quarterback for 3 of those games because Rodgers played one of them. But, and that's the only time we'll cover him for passing. And then he also led the team in rushing with 20 yards and 6 attempts. Now, James Robinson, former I think he had 1,000 yards in the NFL with the Jaguars a couple years ago. He was an addition to the Kings squad, and he had 7 rushing attempts on 19 yards with 1 touchdown. So congratulations to him. And Benny Snell, he had 8 rushing attempts, but he only had 6 yards. And, it wasn't the greatest game for Benny, but congratulations to James Robinson for coming in his first game and getting that touchdown. Now, for the Kings receivers, you have Isaiah Winstead leading with the most receptions. He had 5 receptions on 31 yards. And you have Javonte Payton with 3 receptions and 46 yards. And also Lucky Jackson with 1 reception, 41 yards. And Carter Bell with 2 receptions and 35 yards. And Tyler Hudson with 1 reception and 22 yards. So you can see how spread out the receiving game was and how many people got involved. I could see 5 people that I just listed that were getting involved in the passing game. So that's good. That's always good to see. But we're just happy that the Kings got their first win. We're pumped for them. Louisville's first ever professional football team. And, yeah, we're just super stoked and happy for them that they got their first win. So looking ahead of the schedule, they play the Dallas Renegades at 3 o'clock. They play Sunday, April 26th at 3 o'clock. And that will be the first game you get to see Jason Bean not on the roster, because we told y'all there was breaking news. Jason Bean got traded today to the DC Defenders in exchange for Mike Dilialo, I think is how you say his last name. So, quarterback exchange. Never seen a quarterback exchange in the middle of the season like that, especially for a starting quarterback like Jason Bean. Tyler, what do you think about that?
It's interesting. I think the Kings organization realized that they needed to make a change. Now, I really don't know anything about this guy that they traded for, but I will say week 8, the DC Defenders come to play the Kings in Louisville. So might see Jason Bean up against the Kings' new quarterback. So, a 1-for-1 trade.
I did see that because like I mentioned earlier, Bean didn't start all the games for the Kings. There was one game where Rodgers started, and I think Rodgers is going to take over that quarterback role. Chris Redmond already came out and said so. I think Rodgers, the quarterback that the Mike Dilialo, I think he's going to come in as a backup, and it's going to be Rodgers' team now. But I don't know what the Defenders' quarterback situations look like. I don't know if Bean will be the starter, but I do know that Chandler Rogers will be the quarterback 1 for the Louisville Kings. So that's going to be interesting to look at. I mean, I don't think he played bad when he started, but I don't know. We'll just see. But, yeah, you can catch the Kings playing the Renegades on Sunday, April 26th at 3 o'clock, much earlier than what they've been playing at. They will be playing on ABC, so you can catch them on there. And if you don't have a way to catch them, you can find us on socials. Ty, can you remind them what our socials are?
BG Sports Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, X, Twitter, Threads, and then Bluegrass Sports Podcast on all of our streaming platforms, which is YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music.
Well, there you go. You can follow us on there and check out King stats and scores and updates. So we will move on to the UK football spring game. So me and Ty were just at the UK football spring game. We were actually able to go around and interview some people, which was really fun and exciting. You could just tell the energy shift in that program, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, we had 3 amazing interviews. They were on our TikTok. So if they're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, I believe that, and X.
Yeah, I forgot.
So
yeah, right.
yes. So if you want to check out that and see like a couple fans and how excited they are for the season, feel free to do that. The energy was great there. Like obviously with a fresh coach, energy's going to shift. We got to see a little bit of the quarterback for Kentucky, which unfortunately we didn't get to see C.J. Baxter, which was main running back, mainly because Stein wanted to keep him on the safe side because he's had injury problems throughout his career. It's just a simple way to put it. So just avoiding injury. I don't think anything's wrong right now that we know of, but, it's always good to be on the safe side. What do you think about it, Drew?
There was definitely energy shift, I think. The fans were pumped, and all the fans. I know we only interviewed 3 fans, but we also kind of talked to the people that were around us, and I mean, you can just tell how excited Kentucky fans are for Will Stein to come in. Our whole lifetime we're used to Mark Stoops, so this is completely different for us, and we can be nothing but more excited.
I don't ever remember watching a UK football game without Mark Stoops as head coach.
Now, I do believe that Joker Phillips was the head coach whenever I was younger, but
but
in my brain,
right? Yeah,
I don't remember nothing. But yeah, you could just tell like when they were playing on the field. I mean, they were just crazy fast, size. I mean, we've seen some of that in the past, but I mean, this is just different.
I will say the post-game interviews with Will Stein and the players said a lot about this team, and you can feel the momentum shift within the program, especially. Obviously, a whole new head coach is going to be a huge difference, but Will Stein's main thing is bringing energy himself to the team because that transfers to the players, and several players mentioned that. Kenny Minchie mentioned it once, I believe, or I believe he did. Said something about Will Stein brings the energy every practice, every time he walks in the building, and then Will Stein quoted himself and said he doesn't like wearing quarter zips and button ups, because they don't. He's like I want my players. Yeah, he said he wants his players to be able to come up to him and feel like they could talk to him, and they're just 2 guys that love football. That's
I mean, dude, he's only 36 years old as an SEC head coach. How crazy is that, dude?
As Will Stein would say, everybody wants to play for Will Stein.
Now, I'm not gonna lie; they've been cooking on the recruiting. We already talked about the quarterback that they got, the second in the 2027 class, and they also received commitments from 4-star safety Tristan Hughes, and then they also flipped a tight end commitment from Auburn to Kentucky. Tank Proctor is a 3-star tight end that is coming to Kentucky.
Which that's huge because I don't remember ever having that big of a flip ever in my lifetime of Kentucky football, which just shows you a lot about how Will Stein can bring a player over, convince them to flip over to his program. I just wanted to add that too because that's a good sign for Kentucky football coming up in the near future. And also, you want to talk about it later or now with the 2026 and 2027 recruiting?
We'll talk about it now, but before we talk about that, I was going to mention for Kentucky football. I know it's changed now. I just looked it up. They're still in the top 10, which is great. Top 10 for the 2027 recruiting class for football.
That's it. Yeah.
Yesterday they got to 7th, and I mean I can try to show y'all. Yesterday Kentucky was 3rd. You can see first Oklahoma, you got Texas A&M, and then you got Kentucky at 3rd. That was yesterday. Now, obviously, they change all the time, but for Kentucky football to even be in the top 3 in a recruiting class during a short period of time, I think is crazy. Wouldn't you agree, Ty?
Oh, 100%. That's, for Kentucky fans in the state of Kentucky, that's unheard of. You know how crazy excited Kentucky fans would be if Like when Mark Stoops cracked top 25 in recruiting rankings, everyone was going insane about that. Like, like that was like huge. Like Kentucky football's getting better. It kind of seems like it's quiet right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I know it's not the best time of year for sports because, you know, sports aren't the hot topic right now. But as we get into late summer, they definitely will be. But number 3, like I know that was yesterday, but even touching that is crazy for the University of Kentucky to do.
They were
And
one spot above Georgia. Think about that.
that's crazy. I
Like
would
I
have
said, it's
never
obviously
expected
different
that.
now,
Yeah.
but
It's number 8. That's top 10.
yep.
And I'm expecting a lot more too. Expecting a lot more here in the near future. So we'll see. I know Kentucky has their eyes on a couple 4-star wide receivers. So we'll see what happens
Mhm.
there. And I will say that in the 2026 transfer portal, Kentucky's ranked 11th. So top 15 in a transfer portal for the 2026 season. Now overall, Kentucky's in like the 50s, but that's because the recruits with a head coaching change, you're going to lose all your recruits.
Mhm.
So
It's
that
first year.
happens first year in, hit the transfer portal hard, and mainly the O line. The O line, I would argue, it's the best O line in college football for
The big blue
2026.
wall.
I would
Is
say.
that your
I
is that
would
your
say
hot take?
the big blue wall is back. That's my take, and I don't think it's a very hot take either.
Will Stein did say, "Watch out for the big blue wall." He is very excited about that as well.
It's
I did want
back.
to mention we were talking about Kenny Minchie, and I know we're talking a lot about Kentucky right now, but that's just because we were able to go there. Um, Kenny Minchie, I know he had one interception during the spring game, but that was on a fourth and no, it wasn't a fourth down. It was actually a 2 point conversion. That was a 4 point play. The way the point system was for the spring game, you could do a 2 point conversion from the 10-yard line, and if they complete it, it'd be 4 points. Now Kenny Minchie did run out of options to try to force something and throw an interception, but overall, he had a great spring game. He had a scrambling touchdown, and he's one of those quarterbacks that gets out of the pocket when it collapses, and he also hits the checkdowns. I love seeing that. I love seeing the quarterbacks hitting the checkdowns. That's yards, and it keeps the flow going. If you just throw an incompletion or you get sacked, and like say you're on the road, the crowd goes crazy, your offense gets rattled a little bit. But the short completions, that's momentum. It's slow momentum, but it's still momentum. So I was happy to see Kenny Minchie look comfortable in the pocket and make some of those check down passes. Now, obviously, I know he didn't play like perfect, but it was still it's spring. It's not even fall yet. It's spring. He still has a lot to learn, but from the most part, I like what I saw from Kenny Minchie. What about you?
Yeah, it's hard to tell in these spring games
Mm-hmm.
because, as Will Stein said while we were there, he said he didn't want to show all his options, which is, I mean, everybody knows that. Louisville had their spring game this weekend too on Saturday.
I was going to mention that.
That so both teams, we know that they're not going to show all their weapons right away. They're probably not even going to show them the first couple weeks of the season, but
Mm-hmm.
we're going to get a better idea once the season starts, obviously. But I think Kentucky's in a good spot with Kenny Minchie. He seems to be adapting to Will Stein's system a lot more, which is good. So, but I mean, there's not much to say about it just because we didn't. Spring game is mostly just for fan hype.
Yeah.
So it's not really a thing where you can talk about the players and see if they're going to be outstanding players. We won't know until the season starts.
And I agree with you. I was going to mention, like you said, there were spring games all week. throughout the Bluegrass, throughout the nation. So, Murray had their spring game. I'm sure the EKU and WKU had their spring games. I think WKU did. I'm not sure about EKU. I'm not going to lie. They might have. I'm not sure. But I know Louisville for sure did, and we were actually thinking about going to that. But, DJ is a Louisville fan out of all of us, and, he's gone through a lot. So we decided to just leave that alone. I apologize, Cards fans, but we'll make it up to you all. But we were able to make it to the Kentucky spring game, though. You will catch us at some Louisville games, so
Yeah.
We'll be able to interview you guys and get to know you all as well. I do want to mention now, since we're on the Louisville football topic, they did get a commit. They got a 2027 defensive lineman, Caleb Exum. I think that's how he says it. I could be wrong, but I was watching an interview. That's how he said it. But he committed I think he committed yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, or the day before. But he is 2027 defensive lineman. He is from Florida, and he chose Louisville over Indiana, Georgia Tech, and UCF. So, Indiana just won the national championship, and I know, money plays more into effect, but, if you're picking Louisville over Indiana, that's a big deal. So, that's a good pickup for Jeff Brom and the Cards. And if there's any more Louisville football commits, we'll keep you all updated. Just follow us on socials, and you can see on our stories, and we'll keep you updated on who commits there. Same with Kentucky.
I want to add that Louisville is number 9th right now in the 2027 recruiting. So 9th? They are one spot under Kentucky. So Kentucky's 8, Louisville's 9. Good sign for Bluegrass.
It's a great sign.
Great sign for both of the top programs in the Bluegrass state, man. I don't know. Absolutely. I think that's something to look forward to for us, especially.
Oh, absolutely. I was going to say. Okay, so I think that's all we're going to talk about for football, and we'll keep y'all updated if we have any more commitment news. That was probably the last we're going to hear about football until the King season's over. So, we'll continue that talk in the summer and the fall when that starts happening. But we'll now move on to college baseball. And we're briefly going to talk about this because there's big recruiting news happening in college basketball with the transfer portal. We're going to try to get to that as soon as possible. So, I'm going to talk about the Murray State, EKU, and WKU, along with Louisville and their baseball scores and what's coming up for them. And then Ty will briefly talk about UK baseball. So I will start with Murray State. Murray State started off their week. They played Tuesday, April 14th. They took the loss to Southeast Missouri. They lost 1-12, so not what you want to see for the Racers. That was a home game. And then they played a home series against Illinois State, and they swept Illinois State. Friday, they won 6-1. Saturday they won 1-0, and Sunday they won 6-5. So I know they lost early in the week, but way to get that sweep. It's always good to get that sweep in a I would say a conference game. And then looking ahead, they play Ole Miss on Tuesday, April 21st at 6:30. You can catch them on ESPN Network. SEC Network. It said ESPN right there. I don't know why I said that, but that you could catch them on SEC Network at 6:30 on Tuesday. They'll play the Ole Miss Rebels. That'll be a good game. And then for their weekend series, they'll travel to Carbondale, Illinois, and take on the Southern Illinois Sukies. So Friday, April 24th, they play at 6 o'clock. Saturday, April 25th, they play at 2 o'clock. And Sunday, they will play at 3 o'clock. So you can catch the Sunday game on ESPNU, but it doesn't look like the other two are being televised unless you have ESPN Plus. But if you want to catch Murray State Racers and their scores and updates, you can follow us on socials, and we got you. Now, moving on to EKU baseball. They had an in-state game against Kentucky State, and they took the win 12-2 in Richmond. So congratulations for EKU. And they traveled to Central Arkansas for their weekend series. They did get swept, unfortunately. They took 3 losses. The Friday game, they lost 2-12. Saturday, they lost 3-8. And Sunday, they lost 6-9. Now, looking ahead and moving forward, you have the Kerns playing the Tops. So EKU plays WKU. This could be hosted. You can see it on ESPN Plus. They play Tuesday at 6 o'clock, April 21st, and this will be at EKU. So that will definitely be covering that game on socials. So if you want to follow us, you can see who wins that. And then for the weekend series, they play North Alabama at home. They'll play Friday at 6, Saturday at 1, and Sunday at 1. And you catch those on ESPN Plus. Now moving forward to WKU baseball. They played Louisville on Tuesday. They beat Louisville the first time they played, but this week, they played Louisville. They lost 3-7. So Louisville got their revenge on WKU. And then for their weekend series, the Tops played Missouri State in Springfield, Missouri. They lost the series. Friday they lost 10-15. Saturday they lost 6-8. And Sunday they won 10-5. So, I mean, waiting not to get swept, but still lost the series, which kind of sucks. Moving forward, like I said, they played EKU. And then they also play a Wednesday game that week. They'll play Austin Peay at home Wednesday at 6 o'clock. And then for their weekend series, it's a home series. They'll play Kennesaw State Friday at 6, Saturday at 4, Sunday at 1. So if you want to check them out, you can follow us on socials or watch them on ESPN+. Now looking at Louisville baseball, they beat the Tops, Western Kentucky 7-3. Then for their weekend series, they lost to Cal 5-8 on Friday. They lost to Cal again on Saturday 5-6. And then, the website wasn't updated. Louisville baseball actually didn't get swept. They won their Sunday game 8-5 against Cal. So, way to not get swept cards, but they lost the series, unfortunately. So, we'll have to look ahead to next week when they play Kentucky again on Tuesday. Tal will talk a little bit more about that on. They'll play them at 7 o'clock on ACC Network. And then for their weekend series, they will play Clemson in Louisville. They'll play Clemson Friday at 6, Saturday at 7, and Sunday at 2. So we'll keep you updated on how they do. And Tyler, you could go ahead and talk about Kentucky baseball and what they have going this week.
Yeah, so Friday, April 17th, Kentucky played Vanderbilt at home. And this game was a slow start, but I will say I'm just going to get straight to it. Kentucky hits a walk-off grand slam to win this game on Friday night.
That was awesome.
The energy was crazy. It was all over Twitter and X and Instagram, whatever you want to call it. X, Instagram, all the social medias. And, the energy was actually crazy. Now, we do have two unfortunate games that follow. This game right here on Saturday, the Cats lost 7-8. And what killed Kentucky here is Vanderbilt scored 7 runs in the second inning. So Vanderbilt scored 8 runs all game. Kentucky only scored 7, obviously. But going into the bottom of the ninth, Kentucky almost rallied to make a tie and put it into extra innings. But they scored 2 runs in the bottom of the ninth. So it was a close one. The Cats were trying to fight back, but unfortunately just weren't able to get there. Now, the Sunday game was a different story. Sorry. The Cats lost 6-13. So really not a great game. Vanderbilt had 2 innings where they scored 6 runs each. So, pitching might need to improve a little bit. Defense probably needs to improve a little bit. But, Kentucky continues to kind of struggle in SEC play, which is really unfortunate. But they haven't gotten swept. So that's a good sign, I guess, but still not what you want to see. You know what I mean? Not not what you want to see. Now, Kentucky actually plays Louisville on Tuesday, like Drew said. This time it is at Louisville. So Kentucky took the win last time they played, which is, I believe, almost a month ago or something. Actually, no, it was only a couple weeks ago. But yeah, so Kentucky plays on the road against Louisville. So we're going to see how that goes. Kentucky got the win the first time. Can Louisville tie the series or, well, not series, but, tie it up 1-1 for the season, or Kentucky maybe going 2-0 against the Cards?
And that's normally what happens. It's normally a split 1-1.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you never know. Sometimes there is a sweep, and sometimes there's a split. But I think most of the time there's a split. Now, with the way both teams are playing right now, it's still a toss up. So that's why I'm saying the split is in play.
Yeah, they're both back and forth.
So you'll just have to see, and yeah.
Now for the weekend series,
interesting game to watch.
So definitely. Sorry. Kentucky plays at South Carolina on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's definitely a game to look out for. And the Cats need the serious win here because they're, like I said, they're kind of struggling SEC play. So they really need a serious win. But, we'll talk more about that next week. I believe we can move on to whatever you want to talk about next, or
we will now move on to college basketball transfer portal news. Now, I will talk about Louisville first because they are absolutely killing it. Now, I know Kentucky's gotten a few commitments since our last podcast. They actually got their backcourt commitments, which would be huge. But Louisville's killing it. They got their point guard and their center, which Zach said he might be more of a 4 option. That would be interesting to see what PK does with that. But I'll just break down what else they got. Well, they only got one more commitment, but I'll break down other targets they're actually looking for. So their one commitment this past week was Carter Knox out of Arkansas. Now, for those of you watching, I don't know if you all remember, but Carter Knox was actually committed to Kentucky. He was committed to Kentucky when Cal was there. He decommitted when Cal left to Arkansas. He joined Cal at Arkansas, played there for 2 seasons, and now he's at Louisville. So it's funny to say this, but I think he hates Kentucky a little bit, going from Arkansas to Louisville. That's just, that's crazy to me. But, and opportunities are there. PK is a great coach to play for. So is Coach Cal. So, props to Louisville for, getting that commitment. And I think Carter Knox is a solid player. He's a former 5-star. He's rated a 5-star for a reason. So, I think with him being the small forward for PK, now you got to look at the 4 option, maybe the 5, depending on what they have Flory playing. So that's why we have some targets. So looking at their first target, I think the most popular target for Louisville fans, this is debatable. They have 2 really popular targets. I'm going to talk about both of them. The first one being Alvaro Folgares. And Folgares was a really important piece for the Iowa Hawkeyes in their tournament run for March Madness. He has serious interest in Louisville, and I don't know anything. I have no inside information, but I do think they will land him. And I think that would be a really solid addition for Pat Kelsey and the Cards. So that is a name to look out for. And also a name to look out for would be John Blackwell out of Wisconsin. Blackwell averaged 19 points a game. I think he was talking about or thinking about going to the NBA draft if he didn't declare and go to the portal. But from what I know, he visited Duke. And if he does, from what I read on X, if he doesn't commit during the Duke visit, there's a high chance Louisville lands him.
Which he leaves Monday, I believe, tomorrow.
Yes. So if Louisville picks up Fulgaris and Blackwell, that would be scary. That would be a huge, amazing portal lineup. I'm not just talking because if you watch those guys play, those guys are good.
Yeah.
Like
mainstream media is trying to shoot them down too and underplay their talent, but you can't.
It's because they're not used to Louisville getting everybody like that, and they hate to see it.
I think you're right.
And also, I mean, you could talk about Adrian Woolley coming back. He adds depth, That's amazing news for Cards fans. And then, obviously, they lost everybody. Like, Keesee Pryor, I know this is a little bit older news, but he recently entered the portal, which everybody knows that by now. But, Woolley coming back is huge. And then, with those targets, and also another target, there's a 7'5" center from USC. He is visiting both Louisville and Kentucky. I don't know if he's visiting. It does say on here that he is visiting Louisville. I don't know if he is by Kentucky or not.
He's going to later.
Kentucky native Gabe Dines. He, like I said, 7'5". Holy crap, huge. Kentucky native, so he definitely comes to Louisville or Kentucky, I believe. And he's a 4-star, it looks like. So that will be something to eye for Kentucky fans and Louisville fans. But, a lot to look forward to in Louisville basketball. You got the Carter Knox commitment. You got Fulgaris and Blackwell to look forward to. I mean, PK is really changing the program. And, I couldn't be more excited for Louisville and to see what they have going on over there. Now, I think that's all the updates we have for Louisville and their basketball program. Ty, if you want to take away with Kentucky basketball, what their latest and most recent transfer portal news is, go right ahead.
Okay, so earlier in the week, we know that Trent Noah and Reese Potter officially put out their statements that they're coming back, which we already knew that, but it's official now. Now, on Wednesday, I think. It really doesn't matter. But anyways, Kentucky got a huge recruit, first transfer portal commit. Transfer portal commit. It was a big one for Kentucky. Zoom Diallo, point guard. So I will tell you that is huge because, one, that was outside of Rob Wright, which I'll talk about in just a second. Zoom Diallo was Kentucky's option. That's who they wanted. That was their guy. Now, they wanted both Rob Wright and Zoom Diallo. But they wanted Zoom Diallo and showed a lot that Mark Pope could come through and get him. I think that was a lot to do with Mo Williams, as well as the next transfer portal commit that I'm about to talk about, which I think was even more Mo Williams. But what I think is good about Zoom Diallo is that he is a playmaker. So when he has the ball in his hands, he can score. So a lot of people I've seen compare Zoom Diallo's play style to kind of like a quicker version of Otega Owe. So I believe they're the same height, but maybe a smaller, skinnier version, faster, quicker. So really we're just going to see how he plays there. I believe his assist ratio is pretty good. It's not bad. And then I do want to talk about Kentucky on Saturday got Alex Wilkins, which was huge. So point guard commit. Now we're kind of expecting that to be backup point guard or point guard 2. So I know Mark Pope mentioned something about running a 2-point guard system. So maybe Zoom Diallo and Alex Wilkins could be starting together. We don't really know yet. We're just going to see how the rest of the transfer portal plays out. Now, I will say Alex Wilkins is very good. And anybody that tries to underplay his play, don't listen, because watching this kid, he is good. He's great, talented. When he has the ball in his hands, especially, he will go get a bucket. And that's what Mark Pope was missing last year. And that's what makes a Mark Pope team is two guys at the top that can go and get buckets. And then 3, 4, 5 out there, mostly shooting threes, which that's Mark Pope's system. But very curious to see how he's going to kind of form the rest of the lineup because I feel like the Mark Pope system requires a really good shooting three, but we'll kind of wait to see. Now, so we know we have those two commitments. Donnie Freeman is the next name up. So, sorry about that. Donnie Freeman is who Kentucky's pushing after right now. Like that is their power forward. Now, Kentucky missed out on Sebastian Ronchik. I'm pretty sure that's how you say his name. But missed out on him. He committed to Florida State. Yes. Okay, Florida State. Now, that was Kentucky's backup option behind Donnie Freeman. So, Kentucky's all in on Donnie Freeman now. And I believe I hear things about Donnie Freeman potentially committing tonight. Now, we'll keep you updated on socials, but I also heard something about his agent not wanting him to come to Kentucky, which is interesting. But like I said, no official news, so we're just gonna have to wait to see. It's all speculation, rumors. You know how those types of things go. Now, I will be honest. There's not a whole lot more besides what we know that Drew just mentioned was Gabe Dines, 7'5" center. Now, if Kentucky was to land Gabe Dines, he would be a good backup center, which I believe would play less minutes just because, as a 7'5" center, it's really hard to get your stamina. I don't feel like a guy that size would be playing a lot of minutes at once, at least. You know what I mean? Right. But anyways, he only averaged 2.9 points, which isn't his style of play. It's defense, which I heard I don't really know much about him. I wasn't able to watch him, but I've heard he's very good defensively, a very good defensive shot blocker. And obviously when you're 7'5", that's might come a little bit easier than somebody who's shorter than that. But so that's what we know. And then, like I said, everybody else is quiet because Mark Pope doesn't like to, which is good. Like I have said before, he doesn't share who he's targeting. And it's very quiet transfer portal. Until Kentucky gets their visits, that's how we kind of know who Mark Pope is targeting. So I really believe that's pretty much it for Kentucky.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a whole bunch of things going on, and there's not a whole lot going on. You have, like we had the Kings at spring football, and then other than the spring game and how others performed and different football commitments, that's all we can talk about for football. And then for baseball, we could dive deeper, but I feel like there's more exciting news in basketball right now with,
definitely.
With the transfer portal, like who the heck is Pope going to put together? Like who's Kelsey going to put together? I mean, we already know who Kelsey's going to put together. He's got his main guys already. But
Kelsey's team is forming quick and good.
Exactly. So it's just like the excitement of football and then the portal news right now for basketball. It's kind of, it's going over baseball is what I would say. It's in front of baseball. But, obviously we're still going to cover baseball. It's a major sport, But there's other things going on in the Bluegrass right now. So that's all we had to talk about today. If you are new here, thank you for watching. Thank you to anybody who watched. You can follow us on socials to stay updated and see different interviews that we do and different clips and reels. We'll be posting all of that. So you can follow us on socials. But I think that is going to wrap up today's podcast. Thank you all for watching, and me and Ty will see you later. Thank you again.
Thank you all.